Our nation is one born in blood, and our people have suffered unlike any other. The genocide committed by the Ottoman army under Enver Pasha, followed by our struggle for independence against that same army, we only escaped the jaws of death through a heroic victory at the Battle of Sardarapat and the subsequent collapse of the Ottoman Empire. But our close death has left us in a state of near anarchy. The massive refugee crisis caused by the crimes against the Western Armenian population has overrun our nation, and the refugee camps are struggling to maintain stability as influenza is running rampant. In an attempt to stop it from spreading to the rest of the nation, the government implemented a curfew, but this only made matters worse, as what started as small protests resulted in full-scale rioting. This chaos quickly escalated to the rest of the country, leading to the collapse of the Socialist Coalition government and the announcement of general elections. But during all this political turmoil, one Armenian institution has remained stable: the Armenian Apostolic Church. Having long avoided involvement in governmental affairs, more and more people are begging the Catholicos of all Armenians, George V, to intervene. And the plea was answered, as in a matter of a few days the government was overthrown and a true Christian state was established, with the church in control of state affairs. Starting immediately by tackling the economic problems, the root cause of most our issues, we have throughout our independence been helped by two foundations. The Near East Foundation, who has done heaven's work providing aid to the refugees, and the Armenian Relief Committee, which has done the same. But now, with the church in charge and its massive resources, we can finally end the hunger, putting us on the road of recovery and strength. In about 150 days, George V has been able to turn things around, and while we still suffer from the crimes in the West and the following crisis, we are entering a new phase of our nation. But our church isn't only focusing on the economy, as there is much more to take care of when running a state. Historically, it's been the church which has preserved our nation's identity and guaranteed security to the Armenian people. Today, these tasks are even more important. But the church has more roles than that, with its massive influence over our nation. It is it which conducts the moral upbringing of the youth and then follows up with their education by making a system that's widespread and accessible. The church serves also as the stronghold of the nation, as it is only when it dies that Armenia can die as well. Finally, the church plays an incredibly important role for the Armenian economy, which has already been proven since we managed to quickly end the hunger plaguing the nation. And talking about the economy, several reforms are in the process. While it had been relatively centralized during the previous socialist government, we started a devolution process granting more power to the local churches. Further relief efforts were also conducted, officially ending the refugee crisis, while we also simultaneously conducted land reforms who consolidated land into the church. Starting already during the previous government, reconstruction of the city of Sushi, whose quarters had been completely destroyed during the independence conflicts, had already started, but we now put in significant more effort to finish the works. The second to last reform at this point was building up our infrastructure, both roads and railroads. And this infrastructure development allows us to begin mass industrialization to secure our independence and self-sufficiency. Worrying news have arrived from the West. Conflict has restarted in Turkey, which, while this means they are currently destroying themselves, once one faction comes out on top, they are sure to strike against us. Thankfully, the Catholicos has already anticipated this and started preparing for war. By drafting several military economic plans, our military industry has seen an incredible rise, and by expanding our conscription laws, our army has been expanded to 50,000 men. But the preparations will continue further, starting by raising the ever-important war support, then continuing the important military industrialization, as having equipped our infantry with artillery, a lot more output is needed. To further raise our defensive abilities, we distributed our large stockpile of guns to every household, so everyone can play a part in the national defense of our nation. But we can't simply prey on the fact that our defenses will hold. We need to take an approach of aggressive defense, in other words, expansion. And with the Catholicos and the Church having great ambitions of a faithful crusade, it is time to start now. Our first target is our weakest neighbor, the Transcaucasian military district in the east. However, their overlord, the armed forces of southern Russia, do make things harder. Still making a gamble, we demanded the subjugation of the military district, and to our surprise they submitted, with a large enough part of the population also supporting us to core the new lands. Maybe it's the threat of the Russian socialists in their north that made their overlord not intervene. With a large number of new volunteers and conscripts, we could immediately begin training more divisions to expand our forces to over 100,000 deployed men. This begins our great crusade. We are the sons of Saint Vardan, the bravest of the brave, and our enemies will get a noble beating. But before we go ahead and liberate the Garden of Eden, which according to biblical tradition lay in our historical lands in the west, we will wait for our divisions to deploy and use the time for some development at home. We put most our focus on education, creating new institutions across our country with plans of opening up universities in Sochi and Kars. Closer to our military focus, we are already once again low on conscripts, so we have decided to utilize one of Armenia's biggest institutions, the Athletic Union and Scouts. By integrating it into the larger society, we will be able to see a noticeable increase in recruitable population thanks to the scout training programs. But enough of this peaceful development, our divisions have been deployed and our army stands ready to liberate Eden, so let the crusade begin. To everyone's surprise, we've reached all the way to Ankara. While we did run out of reinforcement manpower early in the war, by once again increasing our conscription laws, we were even able to train 2 mountaineer divisions with the knowledge of all our battles in the Turkish mountains. Also, despite the all-out war, significant development had taken place at home. Our civilian industry had continued to grow together with our military one, thanks to the investments into everything from automobile plants to combat medicine factories. We had even seen further expansion in utilization of the scouts, with them being further integrated into our military, but also education. Though maybe the most important non-war development was the reconstruction of all the churches, monasteries and holy sites that had been destroyed by the Turks. All these places haven't been liberated yet though, the crusade must continue. Starting against the Kurdish Emirate, we used our mountaineer divisions as spearhead divisions, quickly being able to break through. Bypassing their capital, we cut off the east of their country completely from the west, dooming them already from the start. Beginning by clearing the western pocket, we split it in two, making it easier for us, and eventually it was destroyed with their capital also captured. With over half their army already destroyed, the invasion of the eastern half wasn't a problem and the Emirate of Kurdistan was soon no more. Turning back our army to western Anatolia, we easily outmaneuvered the Republic of Cilicia, since they are in fact Armenians and their army weren't so keen on fighting their brothers. Next up, the Karakol Society. It seems the Turks' constant infighting hasn't helped their cause, because being able to pick them off one by one has gotten the snowball rolling, and we are now by far the strongest on Anatolia. So obviously, especially with our superior strategies of encirclements, the Karakol Society fell just like the others. And so too did the Green Army, leaving only the Ottoman government around the Bosporus Strait left. Declaring war on them, their geography helped us immediately, because by simply capturing Izmit, Constantinople was already divided from the majority of the Ottoman army. Still, taking the capital was no easy feat, and while combat was raging over the strait, our army started dealing with the last Turkish holdings in Asia. Being able to capture Bursa, we could encircle a significant part of the Ottoman army, and only a day later Constantinople was also captured. Still, the Ottomans, as the last Turkish state, would attempt to hold out, to no avail though, as we slowly but surely pushed them back until they had only the sea left to retreat into. And so, the Anatolian Crusade has ended in a complete victory for us. Having to occupy all this new territory, we decided to decentralize parts of the occupation by creating the Patriarchate of Constantinople. We have plans for far more new patriarchs though, since the Crusade is far from over. We will restart in the wrong direction, however, against Georgia, as occupying their lands would allow us to prepare fortifications against the Russian threat in the north. But before we attack them, we have some good news from home. The two universities in Kars and Sushi have both been opened up, greatly benefiting our research speed, and we are just about to open the National Academy of Sciences of Armenia, which will further allow us to catch up to the European powers in technologic progress. Thanks to the already existing progress, we've even been able to create 2 divisions equipped with mechanized infantry vehicles. They would see their first real combat test in Georgia, of course, where we used them to rush north and cut off Abkhazia immediately, showing their use. Being able to easily capture the Georgian capital after this, their army quickly collapsed and we gained control over the nation. With most of their population being Christian, there is far less hassle to occupy them compared with the Turkish, and many even volunteer to join our army in support of the Crusade, allowing us to train a lot more divisions. And this comes at a great time, as we are about to launch the final few steps of our crusade, the reconquest of the Middle East in the name of Christianity. We will begin with a crusade against Syria, since they are also under threat of the Iraqi junta. They didn't have many divisions on our front, allowing us to enter Aleppo without any battles. Once their armies returned though, we had to begin utilizing our spearhead and encirclement strategy. With 2 more mechanized divisions deployed, we went along the central western part of the nation and returned to the coastline to encircle several of their divisions. After they were all destroyed, we made one final push, entering Damascus, encircling another bunch of divisions and capitulating the Syrians. Quickly after this capitulation, we established 2 more patriarchs, just like in Constantinople, one in Lebanon and the other one in the rest of Syria. This victory leaves only 2 nations left. The first who we will clash with is Iraq, and unlike all our previous enemies, they have extensive combat experience, having destroyed the Iranian army. Still, with a bigger army than them, we aren't that worried, especially since we could use our mechanized divisions to immediately at the war declaration capture the important supply hub in Mosul. The Iraqis didn't sit idly by though and counterattacked, being able to encircle the city thanks to our late reinforcements. With only limited time until they would recapture it, we started attacking from all sides to free the city, and thankfully, despite the bad supply, we did manage in time. After cleaning up the area and connecting the supply hub to a rail network, we started our famous spearhead attacks. Focusing firstly on destroying their divisions, we got first one encirclement destroying 3 divisions and shortly after another one with the same amount. Regarding this as enough, we started a rush towards the south, capturing all their cities underway, and this was definitely the right answer, because they could do nothing to stop us. Every single city in Iraq was captured, and reaching all the way to the Persian Gulf, we fully expected them to capitulate. But they didn't, having retreated to Iran instead, so we had to spend our time cleaning up the mess in Iraq and begin operations in Iran. Thankfully, with not many troops left, this operation was a quick success, and as we stood on the doorsteps of Tehran, the Iraqi military finally surrendered. Just like planned, we established 2 new patriarchs, one in Iraq and one in Iran, and so we could turn to the final, most important step of the Crusade, the liberation of the Holy Land. It would also be the simplest step, as with the land suitable for mechanized offensives, Jerusalem was liberated incredibly quickly, and so the Holy Land is reborn. Christian rule over it has been restored, and the final crusade after ages since the last one has been the first to be truly successful. But our story is far from over, because in our north danger is brewing. The Cossack king is only days from destroying the Bolsheviks, and we fear we are his next target. This prediction was right on point, because after they fell, a declaration of war reached our office only days later. Thankfully, we have anticipated this a long time ago, and our fortifications along the border are almost fully complete. So, as the Cossack army arrived to invade us, they were met with maybe the most fortified border in the world, and didn't even dare attack us, which means the ball is on our side of the court. We decided to attempt an encirclement of Baku, and to our surprise this actually worked. With our mountaineers entering Kuoba, the city and its Russian defenses were encircled and later captured. However, if we want to win this war, small offensives like this won't be enough, and with the Cossacks outnumbering us probably 2-1, we have no real shot at achieving bigger offensives. Unless we start matching their numbers, of course, but with no manpower, how is this possible? Well, thanks to the manpower of our patriarchs, we've already trained 11 divisions with the help of the Syrians, and we are about to deploy 16 more with the aid of Iran as well. This leaves one final issue, that of the mountains of Caucasia. There is one way to bypass it though, the Black Sea, and having captured some Turkish ships with the Cossacks having no naval defenses, this is actually possible. After readying as many divisions as possible, we launched a naval invasion of Crimea. While there were many Russian garrisons protecting the ports, thanks to us being able to capture Yalta and Feodosia, we could start attacking them from multiple sides, which allowed us to first capture Kerch and then the important port of Sevastopol. After sending over reinforcements, the rest of the peninsula was quickly secured, and with this the battle against the Cossacks truly begins. The Cossacks have fallen apart, and peace terms have been signed together with the Russian Republican government from the east to establish new borders. While we surrendered much land to them, we did establish new patriarchs in South Russia, Ukraine and Belarus, while also annexing Crimea, significantly strengthening our position on the world stage. Our new Christian empire now spans from Constantinople to Tehran and from Minsk to Jerusalem. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I also have some channel news. 3 days after this video is released, I will start university. Because of this, there is a high probability that I will decide to reduce my upload schedule to once every 3 weeks instead, starting already on the next video. But I hope to see you there nonetheless.